Hello, and welcome to the Cubicorn Games Podcast. My name is Dustin Morbido. We are going to talk about mostly video game stuff we've played today, a tiny bit of updates on game dev, and joining me to discuss all of it, Lorraine Morbido is here.
So they say. Allegedly.
I am so pooped. There's still just been so much stuff going on. I got the taxes done.
Woo!
Got a few other random things done around the house. Fixed a electrical socket in the bathroom.
Yay!
And worked on some video games.
I cleaned the house. I fucking did so much laundry. I went to work like, how many? It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah, sorry.
7 days in
I
between.
didn't mean to put the emphasis on you to also list off things you've been up to. It's just like I just feel like I've been doing a bunch of random stuff and also trying to make video games. Which,
I've
you know,
probably read somewhere between 2.5 to 3 books since the last time that we talked.
Nice. That's so sick. You're really crushing it.
I mean, it's just everyone's like, "Oh my god, I'm on book 22 for the year."
Mm-hmm.
As of this recording, everyone's like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, I literally just like I've been acquiring used books, especially this year, for super cheap, both from a hashtag, I guess, thriftbooks.com. Took advantage of some good deals, and our local library has a monthly media sale where I've purchased multiple books for $1
very, very little money
a piece, basically.
Yeah.
And I've literally just made a stack, and it is a first in, first out. I don't think that's a stack. That might be a queue.
Sure,
if we want to get technical. And I've just been literally taking them off the top of that stack, and that's how I'm here. I've been playing demonstrably fewer hours of gaming
I think
per week.
Sorry.
What?
No, that I think you were right the first time. I think that is a stack. He would be first and last.
No, I think
right.
No, I think a stack is like first out.
It doesn't
first
matter.
in, last out.
It's been too long.
I'm pretty sure a stack is like
I shouldn't
literally
have
like
brought
a
it up.
physical. I'm pretty sure I'm correct. I think in programming a stack is first in, last out, where you're like building it up, and then a queue is like continual.
I just don't remember I know that.
So I'm pretty sure I am correct, because I did make a joke about that story title that I'd written called First Out, Last In, which was just a joke on that specifically, and I'm pretty sure it's a stack. It's been a while since I've took data structures. Yeah, stack is first out, last in.
Yeah, okay.
Or first in, last out. That's the one. Like a literal, like you're building a physical
Well, that's what
stack.
I said. I think.
No, you said that you thought the queue was correct.
No, because you had corrected yourself. You thought it might have been a queue, and I said I thought it was a stack. Anyway, Oh my god,
because
I don't know if any of that's gonna make it in.
I'm putting the books that I get new on the bottom of that.
So you're making a queue.
I'm making it a queue, but it is
Okay.
physically like in the real world.
I
It is a stack.
That's what you were just. It's both a stack and a queue.
Yes,
You're
physically
processing
in the
it
real world.
in data structure form as a queue, but it is a stack of things in physical reality.
Yes.
Okay. Well, now I have to leave all that in, or at least most of it.
I mean,
oh, well.
yeah, you could cut the longer.
That'll be the title will be something related to
Perfect.
queuing. But anyway, oh my god. Well, that's good job. Anyway.
Hooray!
Yeah, that's what we've been up to, making physical data structures and
I'm literally always doing that. The girlies love to do that.
and getting stuff done. And we've been working on video game stuff. So yeah, like I said, we don't have any major updates. There weren't like a ton of we kind of talked about the design goals we had last time, and I'm implementing those for Tower 5 specifically, and that's going well. Lorraine's given me some awesome final art for the Tower 5 boss fight for the laboratory levels.
I mean, most of that was
good.
just cleaning stuff up and giving physical form to shit you made.
Yeah, but no, it looks great. I'm really
He was
into it.
just because of how like generally stationary and non-animative most of that was. He won't look that much different.
Yes and no. Like
It's cleaned up,
but
and I've added some flares.
Yeah, just like the polish matters. It's just like like you said, it's not like he's not necessarily a different shape or anything like that. He doesn't necessarily move in a different way. But I think all those final assets compared to like MS Paint blobs that I had in there, it really, really, really makes it.
I mean,
look,
yeah, that stuff,
looks
the attack pieces will be demonstrably different in some ways, but the bulk of the station won't be.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm really digging it.
And on that same note, I've gotten... This is probably something that most people haven't seen, because I doubt almost anyone has made it through
Although you could
Tower
if
6,
you
the
go
manor.
play the build from our Discord.
Yeah, if you have been, you'll see those test assets, and I had a power through of like a 3-hour session of just churning out finalized line art today to get me 90-ish%. Probably a little bit more. I don't know. Some of those other animations are a little complex of getting those finalized line arts, which is not the finished render. I'm probably about I would say less than halfway done with actually finalizing those assets because, I forgot about his other attacks too. I need to open those other files at some point. But I'm getting places, doing stuff. Most of last week was Tower 5, the Tower 5 boss. This week has been minimal 5 because there were just so many little things and because of how fiddly some of those pieces were, I needed to just take breaks sooner because I was butting my head up against a design wall that I couldn't see through in the moment.
No, for sure. And like I said, for my part, it's just been getting that stuff into the game.
Yeah.
And then implementing in level design the refactored kind of like logic stuff for Tower 5 that we talked about. Just like kind of making levels more streamlined, making them more straightforward, giving us a little bit more of like barriers to kind of put in players' ways, both mental and physical, to like minimize backtracking, because that was a problem. That was, like I said, that was the biggest problem that I ran into consistently watching every single person who played any of that stuff, was that they were much more confused about just which direction was next than I had intended people to be. So at least so far, the amount of that I've implemented in the first couple levels, I think it's gone well. So like I said, you'll have more stuff to play in the next week or two. Which,
for the record, was a problem I had brought up many times over playing Tower 5.
But now we're looping back to it. So, but yeah, it's all going good. So like I said, no other real major updates other than that on the game itself. We're going to keep on trucking. We will have, I don't know if we'll post a new build on Discord for when we go to For a Week Atlanta. We might. It depends on how far along it is, because I'm just going to bring whatever we have when we get to that point.
Yeah.
And if it seems like it's a definitive kind of like whole content update, I'll definitely push it. I'm saying I probably will, because I really want to push pretty hard to, at very least, do that full pass design-wise on all the Tower 5 levels. And so basically, if you get on Discord and you play that build, that'll come out in, I think, roughly 2 weeks from today.
Give or take.
2.5, something like that. That'll be mostly what's different about that build from the last one at PAX, and all that art stuff, obviously.
I don't think anything else would have happened earlier in the game.
I'm trying to think if there's anything. And we'll see how far I get with other stuff, too, because there are just a million things to get done. Got to get that new art in there. Got to get back to Tower 6 levels. Got to start doing secret level stuff. Got to start doing more like spit and polish of like basic logistic stuff, like the localization, all that. Tons and tons of things that need to get done. Yeah, we'll have another little bit reset type thing. We basically won't have any milestones, like super hard milestones after this until PAX West,
which is I would say a pretty big milestone.
Yeah, no, it will be, but it'll give us a chance to at least like think, hey, what are we gonna do next?
I never
and not have like and have a number of months instead of a number of weeks.
Yeah,
to hit that milestone. So, and yeah, that's really the last thing from us, is that way I have confirmed that we are going to be doing PAX West this year, coming up in September,
and East next year.
And I'm still hoping that the game will be launched by then at this point. So we'll see how that goes. But
I think we'll have a better definitive idea come September this year.
Around PAX West, we'll probably have a pretty good idea. So yeah, all that stuff's coming together. We're working hard on it.
I know you say there's like a million little, and there's like a million little things to do, but like as I've been like trying to figure out everything that I'm doing, like tangentially to what like you do and what you ask of me, like we're reaching the end. Like we're getting there.
And I might as you start winding down on art stuff, if you come to any point where you feel like you have a little bit of bandwidth, I might even have you like theory craft some level design stuff for me, just to like either like, I wouldn't necessarily have you implement it. I mean, you could if you want to, but I feel like it'd take me as long to teach you how to like some of the stupid eccentricities of laying stuff down at this point.
I mean, I don't think I remember how to put clouds behind windows like I did through all of Tower 3. So, and I know that it's only gotten more complex than that.
But in terms of like, if you have any thoughts for like, oh, this could be a platforming sequence, this could be a thing.
You know me, I'm always thinking about platforming sequences.
Might have you do a little theory crafting on some of that too.
Maybe we should muck around with Mario Maker. Are any of those still online? Is 2? 2 was on the Switch. Sure. I don't even know if we have 2.
Definitely could. But yeah, lots of stuff getting done.
You don't want me to start designing levels. Most of the levels that I've designed, I think there's only one.
Or like little chunks of one.
No, because like 1.8, I believe, is still holistically mine. I put together, I mean, you've tweaked some bits of it, but like the bones, the general flow of that level is, I made that level. That is one of the levels that I made back for like a Maker Faire like 8 to 9 years ago. I think that might be the only one that's still there. Because I think for a while, I was doing almost all the level design for at least like the initial pass of 1 through 3. And I don't think anything from 2 or 3 of mine is still in there, because those have changed pretty drastically. And just like the general philosophy of it. And you put all the tutorial level, like you made the more concise, like I'm teaching you this one thing tutorial levels in Tower 1. So I think 1.8 might be the only level, or 1.7, right? Are there 8 levels or are there 7?
There's 8.
Okay. I think that's the only level of mine that I've still designed. And then I guess you could also blame me for the Count Von Baten Atticus fights, because those were my brainchilds. And then from there, Dustin's like, your boss designs aren't good enough. And we deleted the Tower 3 version boss that I did, even though most of its assets are still hidden in that scene.
That's not how it happened.
That's exactly how it happened. The tell-all book that will be written about how Cucumber came to be, the fucking video essays. That's how it happened.
You're on the record.
On the record, coming at you live straight from the horse's mouth. That's what happened. And then Dustin was like, you're never designing a level again. And then I did it.
See, none of that's how it happened.
100% factual. I am a key witness. Reliable source, locally sourced.
On a slightly more accurate accounting of those design decisions, you could go listen to that little chunk of the Fun and Games podcast we did recently. That was pretty neat. One of those cool things that I probably should post that link in the Discord just for anybody who cares. But so glad we got to do that still.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. But yeah, like I said, onward to PAX, to Furry Weekend Atlanta, PAX West and beyond. But in the interim, if you want to stay updated on our stuff, if you want to see when that build drops next, Wish the Super Cucumber on Steam. Just go look it up. Go find the Steam page, search for Super Cucumber, and then scroll to the bottom of that page and jump in our Discord. There's a Discord link on that Steam page, and you can play the game as we build it. Speaking of playing and video games and the playing of video games, we've been playing one or two things. I told you, I know. I'm just like spread thin between doing regular life stuff and doing game stuff. We've finally both played Slay the Spire 2. Lenny's played a lot more of it than I have, although I have already racked up like that the Cuber Games account, which is the account I actually play that's sort of functionally my main account at this point on Steam. As it had like 18 hours on it already. I was like, good lord.
That's because I'm more of a quantity versus quality for my Slay the Spire runs. I am throwing all of everything at the wall, while Dustin is like taking 30 hours to make a single card play when all he has are attacks and defense in his hand. So me playing more means that I've played more games. But Dustin's success rate is definitely higher than mine because I suck at the game.
I will cop to being somewhat methodical, but also you're at a point where you know the card base better than me. Like I'm getting there. By the time, like after you went to bed that other night and I played another run or two, I started to pick up the pace a little bit because I did play those characters, like the two new characters specifically, enough times to where did at a glance know what most of the cards did. But before then, I was still like, oh, what does that do? I have to read it and remember it.
Strike, deal 6 damage?
Stop it. Stop it. And like I said, I still would say I'm not like as familiar with the card pool of the whole game as I haven't played enough to get to that point where I know pretty much all the cards available to me. I'm not even 100% sure if I personally have unlocked them all, like that are in this build. That's a good question, actually.
Probably not, because finishing those epics, that's what like gets you more relics. Yeah. That's what gets you more other events showing up, the ancients and cards.
Yeah, and I still haven't finished. I finished a base run of the 2 new characters and Ironclad. I haven't finished one of either the Silent or the Defect. The Defect I've actually barely played. I think I played it once or twice when we were playing together. I literally
one and done the Defect the first time I played it, and that was my first completion was on the Defect when I had played him for the first time after unlocking him. All you need is a claw deck, baby. That's all you need.
Yeah, what are your thoughts, Lorraine? As someone who's played it a little more than me, I'm just curious because right now I'd seen that this like online that like it's already. I guess some people are super pissed about certain parts of the balancing, especially like in the later parts for some reason. It's like the review scores are down to mixed on Steam, and I'm like, oh, it seems fine. I don't know.
I wonder how much
like
of that has to do with the most recent update.
Yeah, I think that maybe they pissed some people off.
I don't. The only.
Because I will say
I haven't gotten to the end of the third act much recently. Like, I do think that all of the bosses are a lot harder overall between all of the acts than the first game.
Yeah, and so that's a thing that makes me wonder. I really wonder where they want to go with it more than anything. Because the thing I have noticed the most, which I do think is part of what is pissing people off, at least the people who are super upset about it, is that the bounds are like the upper lower bounds of power on player cards, but especially on like the enemy encounters are vast. They are huge. Where a lot of the time you will fight 4 or 5 things and none of it matters at all. It's like super easy, super whatever, super boring. And then you will fight one mini boss or especially the big bosses, and it will be by comparison so fucked up.
Yeah.
Like super omega crazy fucked up.
There's even a handful of there's the one enemy in the second, or at least as of recording, there's only one of the acts. Act 1 has an alternate version, the Underdocks and the Undergrowth or whatever, the docks. So the second act only takes place in the Hive, and there is that one fucking bug who will steal a card from you and try to escape, and he does so much damage for being a single guy. Like, he has literally basically ended runs for me because of like just bad draw, and just he hits like a fucking truck. Like, and he's not an elite, he's just a normal encounter. There are so many normal encounter guys that just do so much damage. And the elites, like, every one of them are like, oh, we're just like, I'm getting like 3 extra strength a turn, so all of my attacks are like quadrupling every single time. Like, I do kind of like dread picking elites every now and then because some of them are so swingy and like,
and
it's crazy.
And my question is, and I haven't actually like gone, I don't know if they're posting about this on like Discord or social media or whatever, because quite honestly I don't care. I don't know, that's me. I have
been reading, when I see that there has been like a announcement, an update on there, I am reading those like notes, but I am not seeking out other mega crit
at some point
like,
maybe
information.
I will look up some of this. I don't know, because I would be curious to know the philosophy of it. But in terms of like how I enjoy games personally, how I play them, this is one of the reasons I barely ever play early access stuff. So I'm like, look, you give it to me when it's the thing you want it to be, right? Like when you feel like when you're about to take money for this, give it to me when it's like done, like when this is the game we wanted to make. Because I guess my big question for this game right now is, I don't know what they're shooting for. Because it's possible that kind of balancing of like where it swings so wildly, like at a random encounter from being like fighting trivial nonsense to being like having your shit pushed in. That could be a feature or a bug. Yeah. Because it's early access. I don't know which. So it might be that's like legitimately what they're going for, where they want more things on the little maps to be like just landmines that will like you will go from being like relatively untested to like super fucking tested on the like it's
like the fucking Pokemon card game card design.
Right. Or it's possible that they want it to be more of kind of like a linear creep up and they're trying to dial it in. It could be either of those things. I don't know. But right now it's definitely more the former, where it feels like there is stuff that is super overtuned and a decent amount of other stuff that is relatively undertuned. Well, again, for better or worse.
I will say that, like, I know you haven't played a lot of the Regent and you didn't particularly like it on first go, but I do think they've done a lot of work to kind of like buff the general synergy.
I liked it a little better my second time or third time around, because I played it once or twice when we were playing multiplayer, and then I played it I think 2 times to get like a personal like for initial clear.
Yeah.
I did like it a little better on the second times. I do think it's still like maybe the more muddled one, because it's like, I don't know, the sword thing, like, because it's got like 3 mechanics basically. It's got like make the sword and make the sword bigger. It's got manage this other pool of resources by playing cards that either add to or decrement from that pool of resources, which is probably the most straightforward, interesting one. I mean, that's like pull that from any tabletop game or whatever. And then it's got the like make junk cards and then use them to do stuff.
Well, so it's less like, I think what you're kind of like, the sword is more of its own thing, but the thing that you're missing out is it's also just general card creation. It's not just the junk cards. He has a lot of cards. Maybe you just haven't unlocked them for completing things, of just like generating cards, mostly colorless cards.
Yeah.
So a lot of his powers used to specifically call out generating colorless cards, and that distinction has been dropped. So it's any card creation, which he has other ways of doing, just like making common cards or whatever, like of his color.
Yeah. I mean, again, that it does make sense. Like, that's the
easy way to do it is by making junk cards.
Sure.
And then also using some, because he also has like a kind of offshoot of that for transforming cards into like his minion strike and like launcher or something. There's a handful of those. I haven't delved too much in them, and I do think that counts as card creation, the transform. I'm not sure, but yeah, he's a little kind of all over the place, like, because I understand when like the Ironclad and the Silent and the Defect have like their kind of like smaller archetypes within theirs, like strength, energy, or like health depletion with the Ironclad, and like poison and shivs, and then like the orb creation, or some of those like cost cards with like scrape, and like some of the Defect's other attacks where they have I feel like, again, it's probably just because they're from the original game, their archetypes feel a little more solid because there's not too much going on with them. But like the Watcher and these two new ones, the Necrobinder and the Regent, there's like just a slightly uptick more in the abstraction from like what they're trying to do. They have like a mechanic, and then they're also trying to give them those like subgenres essentially of deck types, and it's so much for someone like me to deal with, which is why I generally don't like playing any of those types of characters, just because it's like it's one more fucking thing. And I know that they can get really swingy and can do really good, but I'm not that level of player to do that.
Okay.
So I'm going to keep banging my head against an Ascension 1 clear with the Necrobinder, because I've managed to eke out a Regent win the other day, finally, and that's the last epic I need to do. And then I can go back to playing the other decks that I want to play, like my girl, the Silent, and my homeboy, the Defect, and I like the Ironclad too.
Can I say one thing about the epics since you brought that up? I'm fine, I guess, with them being in there as these like weird little sub-achievements that unlock other things in the game, but that menu is terrible.
It's bad.
Like, it's so awful. I cannot count the number of times I like thought I was hovering over one of the things and then clicked and I was actually hovering over a different one. Like, it is really fucking terrible.
It's not good. I in a way, like, I do kind of like how it is different from the first game, because I initially thought it was like the first game, because you finish a run, you see that XP bar go up, and you're like, okay, that's what this is. But that is a universal. That is per account.
Okay.
And so that's giving you generic things. That's like colorless cards. That's relics that everyone can use.
Yeah.
The epics are what give you the
like
character specific
like, you did
unlocks.
A thing.
Well, no, they're the character specific unlocks. So there are more cards for the character. There are more relics specifically for that character.
Yeah, but they're unlocked for doing something specific, like getting your first clear or like getting Ascension run or whatever.
I mean, yeah, but it's the same for everyone. There's nothing unique about them per character. Everyone has a clear. Everyone has beat X number of elites, beat X number of bosses, beat Ascension 1.
Mm-hmm.
That is, as far as I've seen, all of them.
Sure.
Because I only have the one left, and I've done all those other things. And some of it's like, oh, like there might be like kill this many of enemies or something like that, but those are universal, and those will give you universal rewards. But every character has the same set of tasks that they're doing. It's not like, oh, like as the Silent, go and do this. Like, no, it's just like the Silent does this, but everyone else also does that. But that menu is not great.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, in terms of like like I said, I think it's interesting because I do think I have to play more of the game again in general to get a more of a vibe. Like I said, I like the Regent a little bit. I'm playing again, but I definitely don't like the card creation stuff. That's like me. I didn't like that part of the first game either. Every time any card, and I'm a little surprised that there are like they've doubled down on that mechanic in places here or there of like there are a decent number of cards that just like permanently create cards that go into your deck for like a run or whatever. I think all those cards are ass. I think that as a mechanic is total junk. Unless you like cut it with like more ways to like exhaust cards or whatever, which I think they have done a little bit of too. But like it is just so terrible to get some random rolled like junky colorless card. I think there's a card in the Regent right now that does something similar to that, and there was a card in the old game that did something like that too, or like get a random power or whatever. Maybe that was like a defect card.
I don't remember.
I think it gave you a power every turn. I was like, oh, this is so terrible. This is
That
literally
card is
like
still,
making it more hard to win.
That card is still in the game. I've
okay,
seen
that,
it. I don't remember
that defect
which one
card
it
or
is.
whatever. Yeah.
It might be Hello World. I could be wrong.
Yeah, but it's like, oh no, my whole like by playing this card, I feel like this combat has almost been ruined because I'm just being like inundated with absolute crap that like is slowing down the pace of the things I need to do and making all my draws worse. And like, oh, this fucking sucks ass.
You're in charge of the cards you play,
but not when random abilities just like bestow them on you, and then you're stuck with them. So yeah, that's definitely the part of that character at least that I like the least. Because again, even if it was, I'm a little surprised do you remember what the junk cards do? Do they do nothing, or do they have like an innate power?
I mean, the debris that he makes does nothing. You can just play and exhaust them.
Okay, see that they should have done. They should have made those into what they turned the slime cards into. Because like I don't know why they buffed the slime cards because they're supposed to be a debuff, but for some reason they added card draw to the slime cards, and I'm like they should take the card draw back off of the slime cards and put it onto the debris cards.
There's a new archetype of defect that lets you like when it plays around with status cards, and he can make slime cards now. He can physically make slime cards to put into your deck, like just in the combat.
Maybe that's why they did it.
That's probably why.
If that was the reason, I would even make like a second. Like I would leave the slime cards that enemies on you the way the old ones used to be, and I would make like a slime parentheses positive. For like the defect thing, or like put that in part of the like if that's like a power, because they've added like in this game one of the mechanics they've added is the ability to like append like keywords to cards, so you can imbue a card that wouldn't necessarily have an ability with an ability. Just have whatever does that in that build do that to your slime cards or your effect cards or whatever. But yeah, that like otherwise just adding that buff to those debuffed cards seems so strange to me, especially since they've turned up so many other things that are hard. And like I said, that's what I would put on the debris cards just to make them a little less like you can always cycle them out inherently just by spending a resource or whatever.
Well, so one of the things that I think you're missing about part of what like one of the key cards to that junk creation build in the region is there is straight up a card that will take all of your like debris cards and all of them, regardless of where they are, exhaust them at once, add the number exhausted to its attack and do an attack. Yeah,
but like I said, that's the push-pull there is that you have to like make your deck worse until it gets better. And my like path of least resistance like
Lynn, don't do that.
Well, I'm telling the Slay the Spire developers that I won't do that unless you make the value proposition equal to or better than doing any of the other things that characters can do. When I played that deck both ways, like I said the first time or two, I just kind of grabbed whatever. I was like, oh, I'll just grab a little bit of this, of every kind of card, and just like see what all this shit does. And then in the ones where I was actually trying to win, I was like, oh, I'm 100% interacting with just the star mechanic or whatever, the other resource pool. I forget what they're even called, that other thing. And a little bit of like here and there, I would pick up one of the cards that affected the sword card, and I was like, I'm never touching any of the card creation or whatever. Any of this shit is all junk.
I mean, that's fine. Like it's better to have a more focused thing regardless. Like
sure. And like I said, sometimes
my most successful runs with the region have been specifically with the like mostly leaning into the star energy mechanic because Black Hole is a great fucking card. I love that card. Let me do 4 damage every time I gain or spend the star. It's a great card.
Yeah. It's just the thing. And again, this is going to be the same thing with every card game or like with every kind of thing.
Dustin
like
has
this,
so
right?
many opinions about card games.
Oh boy, do I.
So many. I can't wait till the day that we finally make
you can either try to make everything viable. Again, and this is a philosophy thing. This is a like how big your card pool is thing. You can either try to make every single thing viable, and like depending on how big your card pool becomes, that can be a really difficult task. And I would say the card pool in this game is kind of big to both make everything useful and make everything feel different enough that it all doesn't feel the same. So that's hard, right? Or you can just like have kind of like your A, B, and C tiers of like, all right, we have all these mechanics, and like here's the good one, this one's okay, and this one's like kind of bad, but it is at least different. Like it feels different tactically, even if like strategically it is kind of ass. And so that's where I'm more feeling with the card creation, that kind of thing with that character specifically, is that it's more in that category.
Did you
right
have
now.
the card Supermassive? while you were playing that?
I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't even know if I've seen every card because I haven't played as much as you have. I know I saw that one because you showed it to me at one point, but I don't remember if it came up in my runs or not.
It's a good card too.
But the other thing about that is, again, when you have things that have to synergize, right?
Isn't that the point?
Well, no, I'm just saying it intrinsically, like, you kind of have, my instinct is you really have to buff those cards more than just like generally good cards, because your run is also ruined if you don't draft correctly, right? Like if you don't, if you need at least 2 or 3 cards in a build as opposed to like synergize together to make it work, as opposed to like 1 or 2 cards that are just kind of good. Cost of missing one of those critical cards basically ends your run instantly.
And that's why I do so many runs.
Right, and again, that's like a different, like, I haven't gotten to that point in this game yet, where like in Slay 1, I would just like, if I got into 1 or 2 combats that I wasn't feeling it, I would re-roll. In this game, I have only been playing, like, I've been playing for distance every single time I've played. It's like, I'm gonna try to get as deep as I can, and then if I die, I die. So I guess I haven't reached that point of the cycle yet. Yeah, and in terms of other things that are different, like I said, that like imbuing keywords onto stuff is very new, which I'm not surprised they added that necessarily. I will be interested in how like casual players will take to that, because it can make things more complicated very quickly, like if you really stack a bunch of that stuff up. And then the multiplayer stuff is interesting. I think it's a really good thing to have tried to add in this game to give it kind of a really definitive reason to exist, to make it much more than like Slay the Spire again. Like that element of it, I think, is a good impulse to try to put that in there. I did have fun while we did it together. I do think that, and this is a thing I would hope is on their radar, I would put this way higher on their radar personally than like just balancing stuff, because right now it kind of feels like they're in that mode, right?
Yeah.
They're just like pulling levers and tweaking knobs and like making numbers go up and down. I would love to see a much more fundamental philosophical shift of how the runs are balanced in multiplayer, because right now it kind of seems like the only things that change are like quant number, like damage coming in, and like health, how much health things have.
I don't think it's necessarily damage coming in, because everyone takes the damage uniquely.
Sure.
And your HP,
I guess that's right. Yeah.
Your HP does not go up. It's literally just enemy HP.
Yeah.
That is the only thing that's different. So
that's not,
aside from making some co-op cards.
That's not good enough.
No.
From the enemy point specifically.
Because some of the bosses, like the retooled door maker, is a literal piece of shit with like.
Is that the one with like the portals?
Yes.
Okay.
With like, he probably has like 1,400 HP, and when you can't do anything for 3 of those phases, goodbye.
Yeah. Well, that one. Yeah. So that one.
Fuck that boss.
All right. Well,
I will once again apologize for telling you just to get good when I had not realized how much he had changed.
Okay.
Oh my god.
No, that's fair. Well, all right. So
I soloed the old version when Danny and I played together.
We'll talk about that, and then we'll loop back to my other point. So
you keep going.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, remind me to get back to that boss fight, because I have a refactoring thing for how you could change that right now.
I mean, I would refactor most of the bosses.
But my point being that they've done like a middling job, I would say, of like introducing co-op cards, because there are some of them, and they're okay. Some of them are better than others.
Yeah.
I definitely think that stuff just needs to straight up be balanced, and maybe add like a couple more of them here or there. Like,
I wish there was like if they were not just like straight up colorless cards, like a different tier where you could just find them more easily. Because I don't think I've ever really found them. Like, I know there are some cards just in these standard like character decks, like they're colored cards that are multiplayer cards. And I have never found them. You and Danny, the only people I've played with, seem to find them much more than me. So you use them. Yeah. I think there was that one I found where I was like generating cards for you. Yeah. I'm sure you loved that. It's your favorite thing.
Right. Yeah. I was like, oh, thank God, more cards that I don't need.
Yay!
But no, the thing that I think, for me to be like super satisfied with the multiplayer part of this game, the thing that they would have to do is vastly expand the awareness and quantity of abilities that enemies can have relative to your current party's lineup, and like imbue that over the course of a run. Because the thing about playing single player, right, is that you can only go so far in terms of like mechanics that enemies might have that specifically like gatekeep you from moving forward if you don't have a certain build, right? Because obviously if you're playing single player, you only have one character, and if you're playing that character, that character might have 1 to 3 mechanics that it can, like, that deck kind of interacts with. And so a thing you could do in single player is like you could say like, oh, well, this enemy can't take damage unless you have 5 or more strength if you're playing the Ironclad or something. But then obviously if you're not playing a strength deck, that's going to really pigeonhole you, right? Like it's going to...
which I think is why they've never really done that.
Which is why they've never done that.
All of the enemies are the same.
Yeah, which I am fine with actually in the first game and in single player runs of this game. But because I think it needs a little more sauce on the multiplayer side, both strategically in terms of like sequencing actions with your teammates and in terms of like, I do think that's the opportunity to like, now we can enforce build crafting more because you have at least 2 decks, like 2 distinct piles of cards that like, we can create paths where somebody needs to be the healer, you know. Or,
I do wish there was more interaction between you and your like cohort's decks. I wish there was a way, like I was thinking about this after I recently played with Danny earlier this week. I wish you could just show everybody your hand. I wish you could show because you could look at everybody's deck. You can see what cards they have.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like you can mouse over their names.
Probably, if you can look at other players' decks, they'll probably let you look
I
at
wish
other
there was
players'
just a way to
hands.
be like, because everyone sees the same. You can see when people are playing cards or whatever. You can see when they're like mousing over cards, like it shows up above their head.
Yeah.
I wish there was a button of just like, because it's all turn-based.
Yeah.
There's no urgency. I wish you could just be like, hey, like, here's my hand. What have you guys got? Let's all, like, you're playing a game at a table together. Everyone sets their hand down, and you can look at it. Because that's kind of like, we haven't played it in a long time, but that one, that Battle for Hogwarts deck builder game is a lot more like that because, like, it is much more strongly, because it is just co-op straight up to begin with. Like I'm sure there's ways to play it single player or whatever.
Right.
But the goal is for your decks to interact with your other players' decks. And it is not really like that in Slay the Spire because you're essentially just 2 people bespokely playing decks and trying to survive the onslaught of stuff.
Right. And like I said, I think they need to go a step above that in terms of strategy, coming in with more than one player. So like the example I would make is like, so I would create a whole different, like another layer of like, in the same way that cards can be modified with different keywords or whatever, I would make a whole different layer of like buffs that enemies can have that is only multiplayer specific, that kind of reads what your party composition is and then doles that out on top of the things that enemies already have or do as you progress through a run. So for example, if you're playing a run and you're using the Regent and the Silence, you're playing a 2-player run, these are the characters you have, the game's going to say, oh, I know that you have those characters, I'm going to pluck at least one of the mechanics that those characters are known for. Either one per character or one generally. Like, and again, maybe it goes up as you get deeper in the run. So maybe like in Act 1, it's like, I'm going to pick a mechanic that one of these characters can do and imbue it to some or all of the enemies. So it's like, you're playing the Silent, I'm going to choose Poison. And so now every enemy you encounter, maybe it has like more health than it used to, but then it also has a debuff that takes double damage from poison. And so you're like, oh, well, I need to build a poison deck. And again, if you want to really go all in on this, you could even have that also affect the drafting, where like, oh, and we're going to not only are we going to do that, but we're going to guarantee that you always have access to like at least one poison-based thing every draft round or whatever, just to make sure that you don't miss it if you don't have to. And then in Act 2, you move on and you say, oh, now instead of just being a way to deal more damage, now you have to deal poison damage to whatever to this thing. Like maybe it's immune until it's poisoned or something like that, or like Act 3 or whatever. Do you get what I'm saying here?
Kind of. I'm not sure how much I would like that. I don't want to be necessarily like super pigeonholed into like playing a certain type of deck. I would almost rather if it like, because like I almost wish like the way that you can pick enemies to attack, maybe they pick them too. So it's not like, oh, everyone's not getting this blanket like 6 damage. Like, oh, they're targeting me this turn.
Sure.
I need to block, or you to be able to play blocks on your teammates. Like, oh, you don't have a block card? Here, I'll play my defender. Maybe it does less. It gives you less armor or whatever. But, like, let me be able to play cards onto somebody else.
Okay.
Because you can throw potions at people. Not all of them.
Yeah.
You can buff people that way.
Yeah, because I get what you're saying. And like I said, I totally agree with you. That's why I think it's a good idea that they have gone the way they have for the single-player stuff of not forcing you to pigeonhole people. My pitch for this is that in my opinion, I wish the multiplayer experience was dramatically different from the single-player experience. Because right now it feels like you said, it feels like you're a little playing like solitaire together. Like it mostly feels like you're playing, just you happen to be playing at the same time, but your actions are not influencing each other or the battlefield in as synergistic a way as they could be. And my 2 goals with this would be to amplify that synergy, because that'll get you communicating more, right? It's like, oh, well, I have to go poison, so I'm going to go do this, and I have to apply poison before you do anything else, so hold off, and then I'll do that or whatever. And this example that I made up.
What if you could just get cards from the other people in your party? You're running the Ironclad and you're with a Silent and you get Envenom. So then that's just a card that you pick up. So all of your attacks are doing poison damage now.
I mean, sure, that's a possibility.
The more cards that are coming to the Silent could be poison related. So it's already the enemies are already poisoned. So like certain cards that like, oh, if this enemy is in poison, do this. Or like, I wish you could do more together. Or you're a Silent and you want to play Envenom on your like defect partner because they're playing a scrape deck with a lot of 0-cost cards, so they can spread the poison better. Like, I wish you could just like play skills and powers on your partners.
Yeah, they might expand. Who knows? They might expand some of that stuff. But yeah, but
then my other point
is if you did do this thing I'm proposing, and you made build crafting like a much more required part, like kind of specific intentional build crafting, a much more specific part of multiplayer, it would both make it feel a lot different than playing the game single player. It would be an increase in difficulty that is not just turning the number dial up. And so I for those 2 reasons, I would like it if they go that route. I would be very unsurprised if they don't, because there is none of that in here right now, and so that would be a pretty big, sea change from what they've got.
I have a very strong opinion that they are probably not going to change the structure of the game at all until full release. It will probably be just dialing in numbers and maybe changing how certain enemies' mechanics and phases function.
I think that is probably accurate, and if that's true, like I said, in that sense, I would deem the multiplayer slightly disappointing in the way that it's implemented now. I just don't think it does enough unique other than you are both in the same instance. Like, it just doesn't feel interesting enough relative to where it could be, in my opinion.
But also,
it's not bad, but it's not great.
It's literally just stapling a second player into an already built format, which is why they blanket attack.
Right, exactly. That's 100%
their damage numbers haven't gone up.
That's 100% why enemies blanket attack. Right, is just because it was simpler to do that. And again, I get that. We've made decisions like that in many instances. It's fine.
I'm not saying that's a bad or lazy thing. It's just a fact. Like, it is something they had never done before.
Yeah.
So taking it a more conservative route for building it, I totally get. I understand. That's why we don't make multiplayer games.
And again,
so we don't have to make those decisions and that level of end complexity we don't have to deal with.
Yeah. So like I said, we'll see. Because they have the opportunity to do that stuff. They could potentially do it. Like I said, I agree with you. I think it's not super likely that they will, but it would make me very happy if they did a bigger refactor to make that mode more interesting. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. Is like I said, I think adding that mode was a good impulse, but right now it is a little underbaked. It is just not interesting enough. It is what you said. It is. There are 2 of you doing the same thing.
Up to 4.
Up to 4, whatever. Yeah. Oh, and then to loop all the way back to that other enemy, what did you say it was called?
I believe it's the door maker.
Yeah, the portally thing.
Door maker.
Yeah, so that, and do you remember what it did before this? Because I don't even think I fought it in the pre-patched version.
There was a patch, I believe it was last week or something, that did refactor a lot of stuff. I'm sure I haven't seen all of it. The Regent specifically had gotten buffed, and I don't know if they changed a lot of the bosses, but to my understanding, the door maker got a very drastic implementation change. So when I had beaten its previous incarnation a couple times, not frequently because it was still pretty tricky, but it wasn't demonstrably the worst thing in the world like it is now. So before, you would start with just a closed portal, and it had just a health pool. You whittle that down. It changes into the actual boss. So it's it's just this guy. He's trying to come out through the portal or whatever, and that health pool is the one it's A, bigger, and B, the one you need to deplete to finish the fight. So you've got 3 turns, give or take 2 or 3 turns to do damage to him, and then he does big attack and goes back to that closed portal form. The closed portal's strength goes up, and now you have to whittle the same amount of health that it had before down to get the guy back. And you just repeat that. So the longer you're in there, the more damage they're both doing.
Sure.
And then you just defeat him. And now, for whatever reason, the first turn is nothing. it's that closed portal and you can't do anything. You literally cannot affect it at all. So I guess it's like if you have powers, play them now. And then so it goes into I don't know how it changed between the different like versions of the guy peeking out of the portal before.
I think it's just a cycle.
Well, no, before.
Oh, before. Okay.
They didn't do anything different. They were all just the same thing. He just kind of like...
Now it's a loop.
Yeah. And it never goes back to that closed portal form, to my understanding.
Yeah, right.
But like the first one, all of your cards exhaust when you play them, which is like the shittiest thing they've ever done. I don't remember what the second one does because it was the most benign. So that was like, we need to attack now or we will never get to attack again. And then the last one was all of your attacks will drain an extra 1 point of energy, meaning you can play, like their cost doesn't go up, but you are paying for it every time. So if you only have 3 energy and you want to play 2 1 cost things, you're out of energy at that point. And then it loops back around, presumably until you defeat him, which I don't think that's possible.
I was trying to remember what the middle thing was that you did, because I had also forgotten. Like I said, I just remembered also being shitty. So like you said, it's fate. First state, every card is exhausted, or attacks or skills, like whatever. Second phase, you can't draw cards during your turn, and third phase, when you play a card, lose an energy. It basically increases the cost of everything. Well, not quite. But it drains your energy pool as you play stuff. So I would make, if you were going to keep this thing, I would basically make it like a 1, 2, 3 kind of thing. And see how that goes. Called their Hunger, Scrutiny, and Grass. I'm just looking at the Slay the Spire 2 wiki. So I would make it Hunger, the first attack or skill you play each turn is exhausted. Scrutiny, you cannot draw more than 2 cards during your turn. Grasp, the first 3 times you play a card this turn, lose 1 energy. And then just repeat that cycle. Just like if you wanted to keep the spirit of what this does without making it as fucked up, like that's like an off the dome, like, oh yeah, you could just do this to just tamp it all down a little bit, like where it's all every turn it's kind of shitty, but it's not like, it doesn't feel like you can do nothing for like most of these turns. Like you said, especially the exhaust one, like the exhaust everything that's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's because you could like redesign this completely. You could have it do that. You could have it be a back and forth thing where it's either these 3 states and the other ones are different, or it's even just 2 states and one of them is like whenever you play a card exhausted, and the other one is like, maybe it's like the other one is like whenever you play a card, lose 1 energy and like place a card from your exhaust pile into your discard pile, and so you have to go back and forth between it or something like that.
The way that you can't get anything back aside from some highly specific character-specific cards, because most characters do not have a way to interact with their exhaust pile. Some do, most don't.
Like I said, this isn't one of those examples of like the upper and lower bounds in this build of the game are absolutely buck wild.
Yeah.
Of like I can't believe they backed into this is the version they iterated into.
Yeah.
Like, oh Jesus. Okay.
Well, I think like because I was doing a brief skim through like a Reddit post that was like up like a couple days ago, and like, oh, it's so much more fun, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's maybe more engaging because you have to make more decisions, but I wouldn't necessarily call that like fun. Yeah,
and again, that I'm sure that this is part of what's happening too, is that they're running into like the these are the dangers of early access games. This game has a built-in fan base.
Yes.
And so now that this game is out and they are actively changing it, they have the choice between like
bending to the people
who are absolutely at the upper bounds, the 1% of players, or like making it relatively palatable for most people. And for stuff like this, for just like what a base end run boss does, there kind of is no in between there. Like I get, and again, unless you do the thing that I said with multiplayer, where like there are other ways, even kind of above Ascensions, to opt in to like mechanical differences in the runs. You kind of have to pick, like you have to pick, right? You have to settle on what the thing's going to do. And so like for the players who are completely satisfied with this version of this thing, there's no moving them off of that position.
No,
right? Like,
everything will be worse.
Yeah.
Because I was even just trying to like think back on some of the like final act original Slay the Spire bosses.
Yeah.
And most of them were they were like punishing, but they were consistent.
The one with the clock thing, I forget what that one's called. Or like
fucking slug.
Yeah, that's like the better version of this.
Yes.
Like Like it's punishing and you have to think a lot, but it doesn't feel like it's impossible, and it feels like, and you can play around it by just being clever to some degree.
There's no playing around this.
Yeah.
Aside from just literally passing your turn in some instances.
But and again, this is the current thing of Doormaker or whatever. It's a feel bad in the like. It's a lot of feel bad that you're not in control of, because because you're gonna need to have some amount of card draw to get to this point in a run, right?
Yeah.
And then if you just happen to pull the hand that has a lot of card draw in it on the turn we won't let you draw cards, or like, oh well, fuck me, I might as well just shove my fist in my asshole, like. Like a thing that your proper planning could not have helped you accomplish this is just a pure dice roll of like, he activated this thing when you got this hand.
I wonder, so I'm assuming there's going to be like a heart run equivalent.
Yeah, I assume, right. I assume you'll fight that guy
not
that's
here.
At the end of the whatever.
So I wonder if, because that's not in the game yet, this is their way to curtail people from just burning through everything.
And maybe I could see that, and maybe they even pull some of the harsher stuff like out of here into the quote unquote true end game.
Because the heart was hard.
Yeah.
Like you get past it and you go through like that one last map, that like double-sided encounter was brutal, and the heart itself is very tricky.
Yeah, that could be. They could be like they could just be like throwing spaghetti at the wall, and then they might scrape some of that spaghetti off and put it in the actual end game. Like that's possible.
Because the only I still think the only one that I have consistently, again, I do need to like still have a good deck when I get there, is the experiment. I don't know if you've seen the one, the like creature that grows multiple heads and you have to fight each one. Like it's like the one, there was a Slay the Spire 1 boss, like the Awakened Beast, that had a second form like that. This one has 3 in total, and it's literally attrition more or less than anything else. But I've been able to beat that post patch. I still have never beaten the queen. She's hard. She's got a really hard minion, and once you kill that minion, she starts just shitting all over your bed. And then the Doormaker's a piece of crap, and I hate him.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's the most overtuned boss that I think has maybe ever been in one of these games in its current state. I don't know. It feels pretty nutty to me. And like I said, the way it feels bad is specifically also shitty.
I do think a lot of the bosses in general are pretty overtuned. Most of that, like, I think it's just because like they're like, oh, we have to do more.
Yeah.
So like, I hate that one fucking sandworm. Like those fights are annoying. Like. Yeah. Even like the Act 1 bosses, like I don't need them to be like babies. Like I can generally make it through Act 1 9.5 times out of 10, and it's Act 2 where I stumble because that fucking bug.
Yeah, and like I said, there here and there are a lot of overtuned. There are handfuls of overtuned player cards that are so out of band. I'm like, how did you guys ship this? Like I think the craziest one I have seen is that one I mentioned to Chris the other day of like there's a power. I think it's in what's the death one? Is it called Reaper? What's the death? Necrobinder. Yeah. There's a power there that I think it's 3 cost, and it makes your first 2 cards free every turn. And then the buffed up version makes your first 3 cards every 3. That might be like the best card they've ever made. It's up there.
The Necrobinder feels a lot like the Watcher, where the Watcher was just like insane.
Yeah.
Compared to everybody else.
Yeah, but like it completely breaks and there's no real drawback. I think it might have ethereal or something, so you like have to play it when you draw it. But like, of course I'm gonna play it when I draw it. It's like the best card in the fucking game. Like, and you compare that to, like I said, like to Hello World or whatever, the one that like gives you a shitty colorless card every turn. I'm like, oh, the gap between these cards is infinite. One of these is dog shit, and one of these is like game winning. Yeah, and there's a couple other cards. I don't remember off the top of my head. That other block is really good in Reaper 2 for no reason at all.
Oh.
That like it gives you block, and then if you've applied any doom, it gives you it plays itself 2 more times.
No, that block has saved my life.
Yeah, that card is super cracked for no reason. Like that's a card of like, why would I do anything that's harder than this when when this card is like fine by itself and like absolutely cracked if you just barely interact with another mechanic that is also very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I could get. I don't. Like I said, I still don't even know that I've seen the whole card pool, so I'll reserve judgment on nitpicking other specific player cards. But that is the general vibe I have gotten, similar to the bosses. Is that like there's a decent amount of stuff that's been pulled back straight up from the original game. There's a decent amount of stuff that I feel like is pretty undertuned, and then there's the stuff that is overtuned is like way crazy nutso out of bounds for where I think it should be at baseline. But all that to say, I have had fun with it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll
play more of it here and there
I'm
for
closing
certain.
in on about 50 hours.
And honestly, they might be changing it at a clip that I don't know how I feel about it, because I think I'm very different than the average Steam user. I think most people on Steam are like, I want you to change my game every day. And I'm more in the vein of like, take your time, mull it over. Give me at most like one significant update every 2 weeks. If the game is
for something like early access.
Yeah, if the game is getting updated more than twice a month, like it doesn't matter to me anyway, because I'm not playing that much. Okay. or
have you met Steam users?
So yeah, I guess maybe it's like that like the lack of spare time because we're building video games or whatever. But like if they're throwing out like multiple updates a week in some instances or something, I'm like, damn.
I don't think so.
I don't think they are. I'm just saying from a user perspective, that's the vibe I get from people. It's like, oh yeah, you can update this game every 24 hours. Just keep changing it.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
more,
no, man, it's fine. Do you have any other thoughts about Slay the Spire 2?
I mean, for now.
We'll talk about it again most certainly at some point. But
can I say my thoughts?
Yes.
I've been enjoying it. One of the concepts that I briefly touched on is the fact that they are building like separate themes for each act. So right now there's only one for the first, and I've like technically unlocked the other two. They're just not in the game yet for 2 and 3. So I'm very interested to see how that changes things, because they come with different bosses too, like each of those iterations, and different just general enemies, elites, events, all that stuff. So I think that is also a cool way to like mix things up, because it was just the same 3 locations, the same like 3 potential bosses each time or whatever. And I'm still not good at card games.
See, I wouldn't even say that that's true, because like I said, you're definitely an above average Slay the Spire player if you're getting into the Ascensions already on like basically every character. Like,
yeah, but that means nothing if I can't beat them.
But you're in there. I'm telling you, you're better than you give yourself credit for.
But I'm not good. I might be better than like some cardboard eating, knuckle dragging, slobbering fool, but
pointing my thumbs at myself.
No, that's because you're the upper echelon of like card game players, and I'm just like Shiv deck.
I don't think you're giving yourself nearly enough credit, but
my success rate. We will compare our run like overall things, and we'll see the numbers side by side of like I said, the win percentages.
Run to run to it is also fine to just play runs more casually. Like you don't have to try to win every time like I do. That's not like a failing. I always
try to win. That just doesn't mean I'm successful.
I'm saying the difference is like you can sit there and calculate exactly how much damage you're going to take every turn, like I do in a lot of cases, or you can just more wing it, and that's fine too.
Sometimes I try to do that, and my math is just wrong.
Whatever you're having more fun doing, but like it's a video game. It's supposed to be fun, right?
Losing. And all I do is lose. So I'm going to keep creating every single card every single time. I'm going to fill my hand with debris and then super massive and blow up an enemy for 100+ damage because I've made like a quadrillion cards this combat. It's fun.
Indeed.
I'm going to play anger decks on the fucking Ironclad and have like 30 copies of that card in my deck by the end of a turn.
Fair enough. But yeah, like I said, I'm sure we'll talk about Slay the Spire 2 again at some point. And again, they just came out in early access, so yes. I bet
it's been a month. Like one of their recent things was like, "Hey, we've been out for a month." I'm like, "Has it been a month?"
Yeah, even if it's just shifting the numbers around, I'm sure there's a lot more shifting the numbers around to come. So they're going to change it, I assume, a very significant amount before. I would suspect that game will be in EA for at least a year, like maybe longer. I guess it depends on what they want to do with it. But I would think probably like no earlier than a year from its early access drop will they put it into 1.0. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see that game evolve over time. But
given how much they do need to polish controller controls on there.
That sucks too. Like, although another thing that I do wish, I don't think there was a setting for this. I do wish that it would, when you're playing with a mouse, it would auto select targets if there's only one target. That actually I found to be super fucking annoying. I
think that's how the old game worked
too. But I'm saying I would change it. Now you have an opportunity to make it better.
Well, because we played so much of the first game on Switch.
Yeah.
And so I never played with mouse controls until playing Slay 2. Because it is annoying.
Yeah, when there is a thing like that, it is so trivial to just like double tap the button, like click a card, click an enemy, with the with a gamepad or whatever. But like clicking the enemy, and then when there's only one target ever, you drag it over there, and you gotta click the thing, and like the little arrow is kind of hard to manipulate or whatever.
It's annoying.
Yeah, like they gotta fix that for at least that instance. But yeah, it's more Slay the Spire. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's definitely rough around the edges in some ways, but
The-
if you like
like,
the first game, you
the
will
bones are
most
there.
likely
It
enjoy
is-
it. Yeah.
It is very much
and the last thing
Slay the Spire 1.
yeah, the last thing that is an
more.
just praise 100% is the characters look so much better. All the enemies, all the animation specifically of like I did think the first game looked kind of junky from an animation
Oh,
standpoint.
I didn't care.
I mean, I didn't care. Like it didn't make me holistically like the product really any less from a gameplay standpoint, which is why I could have seen if they did not spend that time and effort to make it stuff better, I would have like understood it in the second one. But I think the enemies look a lot better when they're like attacking you, and your character looks better when they're attacking, and like all the enemies have like a bespoke little death animation that looks pretty good. They just that part of the visual presentation has been really plussed up, and I very much appreciate
As I've
it.
been saying, how much this game is like Rogue Legacy and Rogue Legacy 2. That is another thing. Like just the level of like
Detail.
small detail and like polish and stuff. That I have probably more memories of Rogue Legacy 2 at this point because I just played it more. And more recently, but like going back and looking at them comparatively, like it's almost night and day how much how much more they put into that game, and I can see the exact same thing in Slay 2, which is cool.
Yeah, with all that said, I think that's going to end our Slay the Spire conversation today. And
Woo!
it might just end the show. I had one other thing I was going to maybe talk about, but I haven't played it a ton. And it's getting kind of like late relative for... We got to get food. We got to do all kinds of other things. But yeah, I'll table that for now because there were
Okay.
2 other indies that I wanted to play.
I have literally no idea what he's talking
That
about. So
we
your guess is as
met
good as mine.
people at PAX, but like I played one of them and I didn't get around to playing the other one. So I guess the next time we record, whether it's that, and that may or may not be during or before Furry Week in Atlanta, we'll have to see. But at some point in May,
That'll be like that week. Yikes.
yeah, so we might push that off a week. But at some point in May, we will record another podcast, and I will talk about some indie games that were made or are being made by some of the developers we met at PAX East. So that's all I'll say for now. But until then, yeah, we are going to call it a show. As I said before, you can go find Super Cucumber on Steam and wishlist it. You can scroll down to the bottom of that Steam page and join our Discord. That would greatly help us out. If you like hearing us yap about video games, you can subscribe to this podcast at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many other places that podcasts are found. If you have a game that you'd like us to check out, I do try to play stuff if people send it to us. Send us an email at podcast@cubicorngames.com with your indie game, and I will do my best to give it a look at some point. With all that said, thank you so much for listening to us yap. We will be back at some point in the next couple weeks with another podcast. So until then, stay safe, and we will see you next time.
Bye.